Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel for another episode of Flea Market Finds, and this is stuff that I picked at the May 11th Outdoor Flea Market. It was one of the nicest days we've had in a while. We've had a ton of rain here in New England. It seems like it's rained almost every day in May. Well, anyways, let's dive right in. Actually, let me show you this item here first. Alright, so I saw this at a dealer's site that I had bought some snowshoes from, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Yeah, snowshoes in May. Anyways, I already had one of these, so I wasn't really interested at first, but then he told me he only wanted $15 for it, and I took a better look at it and realized this is a pretty nice cart. It's very similar to the one I have in that it folds up, which is nice, but it's got larger wheels on the back, and it's got swivel casters in the front that are actually pretty decent quality. The whole frame seems a little sturdier, and this handle I think is a little longer. Matter of fact, let me grab the other one. So here's the original one I picked up somewhere, and this actually has replacement wheels on the back. I stole these wheels off of a barbecue grill that I ended up scrapping, and made them work on this because the ones that were on here were small, not much bigger than these. They had this plastic spoke deal here, and they actually broke. They cracked. I'm sure I was probably overloading it at the time, but the reality is you can see that this is quite a bit flimsier in design to this sucker here. The other big advantage to this new one is, if you notice, how much taller this handle is. And I'm just over 6 feet tall, so when I've got this thing behind me and I'm walking, it's going to be much nicer to have that longer handle, as opposed to with this one, because of my height, this thing's practically on my heels when I'm walking along, and it's just not an ideal situation. But enough complaining about that. So this is the new kit on the block. I imagine there was a label here originally that explained who made this, and I really don't care. It still folds up small enough to get in the back of my SUV, which is great. I could even probably put this in the trunk of the Nissan if I decide to put that back on the road. So yeah, for 15 bucks I'm really happy with that. Now that being said, I prefer to work without a cart whenever possible. I typically have my backpack with me, and I will put small items in there until it gets too heavy, and then I'll head back to the car and unload and go back in. Or if it's a larger item, I'll pay for it. I'll just ask the vendor to hold it for me, and I'll come back. Or sometimes I'll even drive in and put it in the car that way. Anyways, that is really great for some of the really big swap meets, where the swap meet is so large that it's kind of difficult to go all the way back to the car. But let me show you what else I got. Alright, so I was going by a vendor's table, and he had some assorted power tools, and he had this Milwaukee miniature impact driver with a battery in it. I've actually got the battery on the charger. When I picked it up, I noticed there weren't any other Milwaukee tools, any other batteries, or a charger. It was just the tool with the battery. And when I picked it up and I pulled the trigger, the last little LED on here flashed red, which tells me that the battery is dead. But that also tells me that the electronics are not completely burnt out in this thing, that this is doing something. It might very well be that it was just a dead battery is all that's wrong with this thing. And I noticed that this is a Milwaukee fuel. You can see it right above the clip right there. It says fuel, and then it says fuel on the back. And if I'm not mistaken, I think all of the Milwaukee fuel tools are brushless. Matter of fact, it clearly says brushless right on the back. So anyways, so the brushless tools, I think that they're more energy efficient, so they let your battery last a little longer maybe, and I do believe they have more torque, and they have one less part to go bad over time, which is the brushes. Although I think by the time you wear the brushes out on one of these, you've probably already done some serious damage or wear and tear on the thing and are probably ready for a new one. Oh, so I don't I'm not sure. So I got this for 10 bucks. So I figured for 10 bucks I'd take a chance on it. You know, if I'm really lucky, I ended up getting a good battery and a good impact for $10. And even if just one of these two items is good, I'll be happy. I found this guy who had a bunch of all kinds of different stuff, and I spotted these gloves, and they're lined gloves, so they're for colder weather, but they seem pretty decent. They say North on the back. North Flex Gold Cup. I don't know who makes them. They're a little small, but that's okay. I only paid $1 for these. And then these I had to pony up $2 for whatever reason. I think his wife gave me the price on these at $1, and I said, how about the other pair for $1? And then that's when he chimed in. He said, no, I gotta get 2 for those. So I think he probably was thinking that she shouldn't have given the other one away for so cheap. So I mean, yeah, these are Chinese gloves.
China, I love them.
These are made in China, but they're XL, so they fit my hands nicely.
Buy toys from China.
These are Pyramex gloves. So I don't quite know if these have some sort of chemical resistance or what, or if they're just for cold weather. But Pyramex makes it sound like they're for heat, but I'm sure these aren't for high heat. But these also have a lining in them, so again, these would be for colder weather. $3 for 2 brand new pairs of gloves. No problem there. From that same individual, I looked through a bucket with oil and stuff. I'm always talking about how I get good deals on oil from clean outs of garages and stuff like that. And unfortunately, all of the oil that was in the bucket was all outboard motor oil, 2-stroke oil, and I've got tons of that already, so more of that than I'll ever probably need in my lifetime. But I did find these 3 cartridges of grease, and I'm not going to be too picky about when I'm greasing all of the fittings on my backhoe. And this Shell Gratis is a premium multi-purpose heavy duty grease. It doesn't really say much more about that, but it's multi-purpose. So, and this Texaco is Mollytex EP grease, and I think this is a multi-purpose water-resistant extreme pressure general purpose lubricating. So again, the only thing I don't like about these grease cartridges is you notice when they get old, they tend to almost like sweat oil, so they can be messy. Let's see, I already got stains here on the thing. Okay, don't tell anybody about this. All right. One of the regulars I buy from, he's pretty much running out of stuff for me to buy that I haven't already seen, but I did find this one lowly screw jack, and it sure looks like it's a Starrett, and I got it for $5. I probably would have passed it up, but I just felt like I needed to buy something from him because I buy from him almost every time I see him. Oh, I almost forgot. The guy I got the grease from, he also had this jug of antifreeze. This is pre-mixed antifreeze that says that it will mix with any color of antifreeze. Oh, this isn't pre-mixed. It's even better. And it's a half full, so it's half a gallon. Which, if I mix it 50-50 with water, gives me 1 gallon of antifreeze. Another guy cleaned out a barn, and he had a ton of woodworking tools, and there was quite a feeding frenzy at his spot. He had a lot of really old tools, and then he had a lot of nice turning tools. There was a wood lathe there at some point, and I didn't get too tied up in all that, and I could have gotten some nice draw knives and stuff for like $5 a piece. I shied away from that, but I went back later, and after the dust had settled, I spotted this, and the reason why nobody had snagged this was because I think most people had no idea what it was, or cared maybe, because when you first look at it, you probably think the same thing I did, which is, what the heck is that? So it says AMT on the outside of the box, made in Taiwan. It's got this weird little bracket, and then it's got a bunch of these, which clearly have a little cutting edge on the end at a 90-degree angle. So I was still mystified as to what this was, and the guy who was selling this stuff had no idea, but as luck would have it, whoever owned this, they cut out the page from the catalog that they must have ordered it out of and folded it up neatly and stuck it in here. And that is why I can look like a genius and tell you that, oh, I happen to know exactly what this is. This is a hand router set. I gotta be honest with you. I know a little bit about woodworking, and I know what routing is. I've got a router, but I didn't even know there was such a thing as hand routing. So apparently, you put one of these cutters in here and you pull this along and can actually route grooves and stuff in wood. I wonder if that's like almost for like carving, wood carving or something. I don't know. But he agreed to sell this to me for $5, and I was happy with that, to take a chance on it for that. Again, I have no idea what that's worth. Well, guys, I just looked this up, and looks like I got lucky again, taking a chance on something like this. So this thing is on the James Bode, I think it's called, the Vintage Tool website. He's showing one of these, and it says an original box with 6 cutters. So I'm assuming it's used. And he's got a price of like $145 on it. Now that doesn't mean he's going to get that for it, but even though I can't find one on eBay right now, I found one that sold back in March for $60. I think that was a buy it now, so that's a good sign. So I scored for $5 on something that sat there for a good part of the morning and had numerous tool buyers and tool aficionados digging through that pile of stuff he had. Another guy I've bought some stuff from in the past, didn't have much for me to get excited about, and he brought a partner with him who was kind of beating me up on prices. So I passed on a lot of the stuff. It wasn't that much, but I mean, I passed on a few things, but I did score this for $5. This is a J.H. Williams number 303 Vulcan style clamp, and I've got a few of these. I like these. I like the shape of them. If there's such a thing as a sexy clamp, this might qualify. Oh, this one's got some flash rust on it. Kind of takes away from it, but that's all right. I still like these. Another guy had a whole table of all kinds of stuff, and he said, I'm going to make it simple. Anything on this table is $1. So I found 8 items. Funny, the first thing I picked up before he said what the price was I went through a box and I saw some vice grips in there. And I left those in, and I took these out, and because they're a smaller set and I don't have as many pairs of the small ones and they're genuine vice grips, I was going to ask him how much these were. Then when he said that everything was $1, I was like, oh, for $1, then I am going to take the other one I found in there. So I took all the genuine vice grips he had, which was these 2. This neat little angle block that's got a little fence built into it so it can hug the edge of something, right? This for $1, which, imagine the amount of work somebody put into making this thing. Give you a closer look at this little slice of heaven. So it almost looks like a little sign plate. You can tell it's a homemade deal there because of the kind of crudeness in the way he stamped the degrees in over here. But still a nice little piece, and then it's got this ability to swivel on the top. Lock it down, right? So sure, that's kind of nice for $1. This boring bar, which has a insert in it, and actually has 2 inserts actually zip tied to it, so that anybody who was going to grab this bar would know, oh, these are the inserts you want to use, and these are TPG 431s, I think. Yeah. And I think I might have more of these big triangle ones. Snagged that for $1. Might keep that for myself. Might use that on my Hendy one of these days. I don't know. This little thing right here, which is an unusual little tool. Okay, it's got a little cutter in there. So this almost looks like a tool for a like a hard-hinge chucker lathe, or maybe like a Brown and Sharp screw machine. I don't know. Oh, actually, it does say something on the side here. So it says Boyer Schultz 000RT. Boyer, B-O-Y-A-R Schultz, as in like the creator of the Peanuts comic strip. Anyways, Boyer Schultz 000RT. This is going to be either something that's worth a few bucks on eBay maybe, because it's kind of specialized, or it's scrap. But I only paid $1 for it. A transfer mag block. So this is a laminated block that is used to hold small parts on a mag chuck when you want to transfer the magnetic forces up through this block or parallel to the next item. They're usually in pairs, so you can use them as parallels, and it was just this single one. But I have some other single ones, so maybe I even have one close enough that could be used. I don't know. Although they're probably not going to be matched. For $1, sure, why not? And the last item from that particular gentleman off his dollar table was this. This is a horror movie prop, if I've ever seen one. So what does it remind you of? Well, it reminds me of a, I think they call them gaffing hook, or the kind of hook that they would use back in the day on, like if you were a longshoreman, if you were working at the docks. You ever see the movie All Quiet on the Waterfront? No, All Quiet on the Waterfront? Idiot. You ever see the movie, it's an old one, On the Waterfront, starring Marlon Brando and, oh, who else was in there? The guy with the big nose. What the hell's his name? Carl Malden. That's it. I couldn't think of it. Carl Malden, who also starred in The Streets of San Francisco with Michael Douglas. Another great cop show back then. Anyways, great movie. But there's a lot of scenes where the guys have these slung over their shoulder. That's where they would hold them. That's where they would leave them when they wanted their hands free. Anywho, this has a little extra treat to it, which is it's got this button, so that when you press the button, it allows the hook to do this, to break away. And somebody put a tag on it. At some point, they were trying to sell this for $1 and nobody bought it. And it says, "Hey Hook," at 38. That makes it sound like a lot number, or maybe this was in a co-op somewhere. I don't know. But we're about to find out right now. Because this was made, this is Flippo, L-F-I-P-O. Boy, how the hell do you say this name? S-E-N-F-T-E-N. Senften. Senften Belen. B-E-H-L-E-N. Belen. Senften Belen Company of Columbus, Nebraska. Patent applied for. So that company is a metal fabricator in Columbus, Nebraska, and here's somebody selling one on eBay, and they're describing it as an aluminum hay hook. They want $18 for it, so I guess even though it was kind of cool looking, I should have left it on the table. One sold back in March for $5. I should break the hook off of it so it's not a menace to society, and then just throw the aluminum in my aluminum scrap. Well, my neighbor's got a horse farm. Maybe he can use it for grabbing bales. I don't know. Oh, the guy who had the little hand router, he also had this new old stock steel chainsaw chain. I got this for $5. I did take it out and look at it because the package was already open, so I was concerned that it wasn't new. But it sure looks new to me. So I don't know why somebody opened it. Maybe they opened it and realized it was the wrong size and never got around to returning it. I don't know. Then I found this at a guy's site, opened it up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat little set. And then I realized it says right there, it's a Torque Control Incorporated Torque Screwdriver Kit number 2. So I realized, oh, okay, so this is not a simple cheap old nut driver. This is actually a torque screwdriver. And then I looked at the actual side of the screwdriver here, and it says Utica. So this is a Utica Tools of Orangeburg, South Carolina, TS30. So this is actually a nice little torque screwdriver. So he wanted $10 for it, and I agreed to pay him the $10 for it. But before I paid him, I decided to just do a real quick check, and I realized that there's something wrong here. It doesn't want to click. In other words, if I pull this collar down, that allows you to turn this adjustment. Okay, so this is what keeps this from changing adjustment. But if I pull this down and I back this adjustment out all the way to 0, this should I should be able to turn this, and this should slip in my hand pretty easily, because that's a very, very low torque setting, and it doesn't. So I explained to him I was going to pass on it, and then we talked about it a little bit, and I said, well, I tell you what, I said, if you want to take $5 for it, I'll take a chance on it, and he agreed to that. So that's how I ended up with it. I bought it for $5, as is. Well, I just put a wrench on the 1/4-inch drive adapter that I stuck in here to hold it, and gave it a little bit more force, and it broke free. So now it does seem to be working, but I don't know, I'm not convinced that this isn't going to still need some attention. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to sell it as is. Somebody else wants to mess with it. So another one of my regulars there, and was looking through his stuff, and I did spot, this is something new he had, which was this SPI brand, which is an import, but this one actually above SPI says Kaiser. So this is a German import sold under the SPI brand name. And what I like about it is it's a nice large face indicator, makes it easy to read, and it's a long travel with a secondary dial. These are great for if you want to make yourself a little project, like maybe a carriage stop that you want to build into it, the ability to have a very precise measurement of the movement of your carriage, or also you can rig up some brackets on your quill, on your drill press, or your milling machine, and have a very precise measurement of the Z-axis movement on your manual machine. So he had 30 on this, but I got it for 25. Then I got this sweet deal on this battery charger for 75 bucks. I mean, look at this thing. It's got the quick release hood, so you can work on it. It's got the pre-rusted transformer. It's got everything going for it. So, all right, so in all seriousness, it's funny how life works. This is a transformer. This is a battery charger that I bought last year on a pick. And it's the SE series Schumacher charger. And the reason why I snagged this charger was because I knew I was going to get it cheap, and I think I probably paid like 25 bucks or 30 bucks for it. And I noticed that it was a starter charger. So it charges batteries, but also it can provide enough amperage to act like a booster pack. If your battery's not completely dead, it's just cranking slow, you know? So I thought, well, that might be handy to have. So I've been using this off and on for a while, and all was fine. And then recently, it just went kaput and stopped working. So I was like, oh. So I was like, well, maybe it blew a fuse. And I looked at it and I realized, well, there was no place for a fuse holder or anything, so there was no replaceable fuses on the thing. So then I decided, well, I better open it up and see what the hell's going on with it. So I opened it up, and see how rusty it is? And there's even like some light corrosion on this board over here where the circuit is, where you've got the triax or whatever the heck they're using there for operating the charging circuit. That's my fault. This thing was actually probably in pretty darn good shape when I got it, but I have a nasty habit of forgetting these outside and then it rains. So it's funny how these electrical appliances don't tend to like rain. You'd think, hey, you're washing it, why wouldn't it work? Anyways, could be something I did to kill it. Very, very possibly, yes, as I loathe to admit it, but it's possible that I murdered this thing. So what I found was, when I opened it up, I already cut the cord off because I'm scrapping it. This device right here is a automatic resetting fuse. So it's a thermal fuse. So what happens is if you draw too much current through this and it gets hot enough, there's a bimetal contact in there that will open. And the way it's supposed to work is it self-resets. You unplug the unit, you let it cool down, and this will close by itself. This is what's supposed to protect this whole thing in case you're working it too hard and you're going to murder it. And for whatever reason, this didn't do anything. Because what ended up happening, and I already verified it, is the primary winding of this transformer opened. So this is garbage. But remember how I said life can be funny? Well, my buddy Roger, who sold me this nice indicator, I was getting ready to leave his table, and all of a sudden I spotted this box. And I was like, son of a gun. I said, that looks just like the charger I just killed. And I said to him, I said, hey, do you know if that charger works? He says, yeah, sure. I said, all right, I'll take it. He had 20 bucks on it. I'm surprised he didn't ask me if I was feeling well. I said, you know, because I didn't even like try and get him down to 15. So, let's see. It's in the box, so it almost looks new. It comes with a free pen. Instructions. We don't need no stinking instructions. I should have kept the other one up here just to show you that this is a dead ringer for the Schumacher that I just threw behind me. Look at the cover. Covers are identical, right? But more importantly, it's got the same exact switch layout. The switches do the same job. It's got the same meter with the same little LEDs, status LEDs built into it. So this is like in really, really nice shape. It's really clean. I'm gonna have to leave this out in the rain several times before I can have it properly seasoned for use. So I do think it's been used because the way the cords aren't like wrapped up, you know, or anything. So it's not brand new in the box, but I'm not worried about it. He's a good guy, so like if I plug that in and it's just completely junk, I can bring it back probably. All right, 2 items left. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way, or as I should have said, the snowshoes. Okay, so the snowshoes, I got these off the guy I bought the cart from. I'm walking along. These are down on a tarp, you know, all laid out with a bunch of other stuff, and they're on a tarp. And as I'm walking up near this guy's spot, there's another guy who stops and he's looking at the snowshoes, and he asks the guy how much for the snowshoes, and the guy says 20 bucks. And the guy looks at him, he puts them down, and he walks away. Now, not a good time of year to be buying snowshoes, but I was like, I don't even know if he really looked at them that closely. So I walked up, picked them up. First thing I noticed was the bindings are all there. They're not leather bindings, they're, you know, so I guess leather bindings are the better ones. But when I turned them over, I saw the label right there, and it says the Maine snowshoe, guaranteed not to sag, LL Bean with Biddeford, Maine. And I was thinking to myself, you know, LL Bean stuff isn't cheap. So I figured, what the heck? So I said, hey, would you take 15 for the snowshoes? I just heard you tell that guy 20 and he walked away. And he said, sure. Snag these for 15 bucks. Now, yeah, it's May. But you know what? Come fall, if I can remember to do it, I'll put these online, and I can almost guarantee I'll be able to sell these. How much? Well, let's see. I couldn't find any exactly like these, and definitely the ones that I did find with the leather bindings are more valuable than this style right here. This is like a Velcro, whatever. But that being said, just a decent pair of snowshoes from LL Bean, I'm pretty confident I can get 40 or 50 bucks for these in season. That brings me to the final item, which is something I had been wanting to get for myself for a while, and I have no idea if this one's even any good, so I took a chance on it and didn't pay much at all. So I spotted this thing, and at first I thought it was a power supply from a distance, and then I walked up and looked at it and quickly saw, based on that there was a soldering iron right there, that this is a soldering iron, temperature controlled soldering iron station. And it's got 3 channels, so you can hook up to 3 different soldering irons to it. And then I spotted over here this port where it says snap vac, and realized I think this is a soldering station that was designed to be able to not only have soldering irons like this hooked up to it, it's just a regular soldering iron, but also a desoldering iron, which is what I really wanted to get for myself. So the guy who sold me this, I don't even think he knew what this was. And he wanted 10 bucks for it, and I said, would you take 5? And he said, sure. He just wanted to get rid of it. So I have no idea if this does anything, if it's going to turn on or whatever. It is a Pace, which is good, because when I saw the front, okay, it just says MBT, and I didn't notice it. Right below it in small letters it says Pace. Pace is a known good brand, so I might be able to still get replacement parts and an iron, because it has this, what looks like maybe a proprietary funky plug that has 6 pins. All right, I already plugged in the soldering iron and we're plugged into power. Let's see what happens. Well, that's a good sign. Temperature's rising. Oh, oh. Here's an idea, Steve. Make sure the cord's not touching the iron when you... Son of a gun, this thing's working. Wow, how do you like that? Perfectly good working soldering iron, temperature controlled. So, question is, how can I make the vacuum do something to show that the vacuum works? I can change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Let's see, this is, I can change the, it won't let me select another channel. I'm guessing, I'm going to guess that it's not letting me select another channel because there's nothing plugged into the other channels. Let's see whether or not if I put it in channel 2, it automatically senses that I'm now plugged into channel 2 and is showing me channel 2. Cool. This must be the, what is this? We got up and down arrows that do nothing. Oh, I see. We set, it's set to 800. So I can bring that way down. All right, now the temperature's dropping because I set it to 500. That heated up fast. So this is a PPS 85. Wow. So this is a pretty old unit. The Pace PPS 85 is a pretty old unit, but apparently these were really expensive new, because this unit, just the bare control unit, sells for between $80 and $130 used on eBay. Those are sold prices. So the problem with this unit for me is that the other components, the other accessories and stuff are very expensive to buy. So like this soldering iron alone, to buy a replacement one of these soldering irons is probably like $100. There are also other accessories that they had. They had things called thermo tweeze, which are, it's almost like a soldering iron with 2 heads that actually acts like a big pair of tweezers, and those are designed for removing SMD components, that's surface mounted components, which would be pretty handy if you were doing a lot of rework on PC boards with a lot of surface mount stuff. And then there's all different kinds of attachments also to do different types of surface mount ICs and stuff like that. So, I don't know, it must have been some kind of chemical that came in contact with one of these feet because it's all gooey. Anyways, I can't even find the listing for the desoldering unit. And then I saw on a thread somebody warned about the possibility that if you buy one of these used, it might have a turbine style vacuum pump inside, and if it has a turbine style vacuum pump, those can wear out and go bad, and they're like $150 to replace. If it has a diaphragm pump, that's a I guess a little more durable, maybe, I don't know. But I don't know yet what I'm going to end up doing with this thing. It is much nicer than the soldering iron I have now, that's for sure, but it might be overkill for my bench. Alright, so that's going to bring this episode to a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing and sharing the video. Until next time, take care.